Okay, everybody. So, gave the opening video, but we're going to start with the basics of how to garden. It's honestly not that hard, but the first thing you want to start off with is at least knowing about composting. So, what is composting? Composting is a method of breaking down organic waste the way it would naturally. In nature, things are much more spread out, so some precautions should be taken when composting at home. That means that while in nature, animals can poop outside and die outside, and all of that can just be there, it's typically spread out, so it's not a problem. So, because you'll use a composter, you do want to not use poop of any kind, cat poop, dog poop, human poop, in a composter that you're using for food, because it takes 2 to 3 years to compost down to where it would be safe. So, no poop. That wasn't going to be the first thing, but anyway. Also, don't put honey in your composter. I know you're like, oh, honey, you can put that in a composter. No, it's actually antimicrobial, and it's actually good for wounds. So if you have a cut and you clean it and throw a little honey on it, you're good. But it's not good for your composter. Three. A lot of people advise not to put meat or dairy in your composter. That goes along with the, no poop, no excessive amounts of any one thing, because it'll start to smell bad. And I'll show you the composter, one composter that I currently have, and another one that I'm going to make later in a video, because not everybody knows how to do it, and I'm limited on my tools, so I'm going to show you how to do it when you don't have a lot of tools. Like, legit, I just have a knife. So, and I'm going to convert a tote into a cheap composter. Let's see. A lot of trying to be professional-ish, or at least organized. We'll get there. A lot of people advise not to put meat or dairy in your composter. I've never actually had a problem with that. I have put meat in. There's really not much dairy to put in, like, as far as our household goes, so there's not going to be milk poured in the composter. Occasionally, there is some, there might be a little bit at the bottom of the gallon that went bad. Yeah, I'll put that in the composter. I would suggest pouring water over it, because animals will smell that and come looking for it. The same thing with meat. If you do scrape and there's meat or bones, and you've just started your composter, find a way to cover it with other things. So you might want to start off with some potting soil or just dirt from your yard. Throw that in there with the worms. And I do suggest preloading your composter with worms. Once things start to break down, they eat half their body weight every day. So if you can bury things in your compost, that's ideal. That way the smell is less likely to get out, and other things are not going to dig into your compost. If you can lock the lid, do so. That is best. This big composter that I have right now, it has a lock on it. When you turn it, it locks, so raccoons, and pretty much think raccoons and other things with opposable thumbs, won't let them get in it. And then you can be a little more willy-nilly, with less concern for things getting into your composter, but I would still say chill about what you do, at least a little bit, to avoid the smell. Once you, with practice, you will see what is and isn't a good idea to put in your composter. I said it before, invest in worms. Yes, your food waste will break down in an outside composter, but if you can buy some red wrigglers, it will help. They eat half their body weight daily, and yes, those are the red fishing worms that you see in those little refrigerators. That's more than enough to get you started. I would get more, but that's me, and I usually start off with the larger home composters and not like a bucket or just a tote. Mix your green and brown waste. The brown waste will be things that are already brown, like dried leaves, sticks, and paper products. The green waste is things like grass clippings and leftover fruits and vegetables. So you want to layer those, at least when you get first started, because a lot of people, they'll have a lot of things all at once. So you do want to put the brown in first, then the green, then the brown, but eventually you'll get to the point where you can like just dig a little bit of a hole. Yeah, and that's what I usually did. I didn't typically just put things on top of the composter. You dig out a little bit of the center, put it in there, cover it back up. It just helps things break down faster, gets it warmed up, and the bugs and worms and everything just get on it a whole lot faster. Water. Do not forget water. And do get used to putting your hands in your composter, at least, with a glove, because you will, like, if you notice you have like 2-3 weeks where it's just hot and it's not raining, go outside. If more than like 2 or 3 inches down in your composter, it's dry, like you get down like 3-4 inches and it's still dry, just break up little bits of the top and pour a gallon or 2 of water. If it's a big composter, pour that water in there just to help things stay hot and keep the bugs and everything that are there alive, to keep breaking things down. Hold on. Yep. Vermicomposting. Now that is specifically, now with the big composters, you can typically let them go out. Leave them outside. They will get worms, potato bugs, cow bugs, mayflies, all that stuff. It'll naturally be drawn to the composter, but you can also go specifically with vermicomposting, and that is legit making a container that's basically off the ground, that you only use the worms to compost. That is also an option. I will add links for different systems and stuff for that, but you can also make them with totes or dish pans. Yeah, the little dishwashing pans that you get Family Dollar or whatever for $1. Yeah, you can make the trays you need. I'll show you. Yeah, and when harvesting compost, if anything isn't finished, just throw it back in the top. It doesn't matter if it's done cooking or not. If it's not, throw it back in. So now I'm going to show you the one composter that I have right now and kind of how this works. Okay, this is a composter that was actually just sitting out somewhere, like, there were weeds growing all over this, so whoever had it before, so you might actually be able to find one of these or get one free off Craigslist. It's actually multiple parts. There's come on, open. It wasn't locked. So there's the top where everything goes. Then there's this uppermost tier, which is the top, and then the bottom. So you can see this already has the vents I'll go into. You need these open for airflow and to get moisture for the composter. But I know a lot of people are like, well, how do you get it out? This has a door, and there's a lot of room in it. I would show you the inside, but I actually started using it already, so we're not going to take a peek at it. Oh dear. There you go. But this is a basic composter. I'll actually leave a link, so if you can find one, like I'll show you what they look like, and how, so you can look at it online and see if you can jimmy rig something like out of a garbage can. You really can. There are lots of different kinds of composters. This is actually one of my favorite kinds. This is called a flow-through. So if you do an internet search for flow-through composters, you'll find all kinds of variations where you can throw it in the top and then get the finished product out of the bottom. And honestly, from experience, once it gets like halfway up, you can start. You should be able to start harvesting it, but I prefer to actually fill a composter up and then have a completely different composter to start filling in, so it's never actually continuing to have fresh stuff to it. But next part, I'm going to get a tote and show you how to make one with basically no freaking tools. I actually forgot. I did bring some stuff to put in here. It's part of the reason I'm making these videos, like, just record as I do things. Don't mind me, I keep forgetting where exactly the fucking thing is. So, other things that can be put in. Cardboard. Tea bag containers. Actual used tea bags. Cardboard. I know I didn't say everything I was going to say in that video, when I was going through the sections, but hey, we're going to do as little editing as possible and just make this happen. And legit, when you get the paper, cardboard, whatever, just rip it up into pieces, kind of spread it out, so when it does start getting wet and the bugs start getting to it, it's not just one big thing. More tea bags. You drink a lot of tea. But yeah, you just throw it in there, and so this would be an example of the browns. Even the tea bags, I think, would be considered the browns because the leaves are dried and then brewed. They just happen to be wet. So those are browns. I actually have an example of some greens. It's not grass clippings because we're not quite there yet. Oh, Captain, really? The greens. I am so sad that I missed the last of this, but fruit that's gone bad in your fridge. Blah. So that's gonna stink a little bit, but thankfully oh God, I will be washing my hoodie. But yeah, that's it. And you're really not going to see things quickly until you start to see things quickly. But yeah, that's it for right now. And the next video will be how to make a composter out of a tote. Stay safe, everybody, and I hope this helps.